They're accusing me of something that I did not do.
A wife with nowhere to turn.
The military has set up my husband.
An outcast lawyer with nothing to lose.
I love being a wild card.
Between her husband's secret and a cover-up,
Witnesses were murdered.
nothing can prepare them for the truth.
Caution might be the order of the day.
Ashley Judd, Morgan Freeman.
I've already survived you once. Will you survive me?
High Crimes, rated PG-13, April 5th, only...
So the story follows a criminal defense lawyer played by Ashley Judd, whose husband is arrested and accused of being the source of a shooting that killed 9 people in El Salvador in 1988. An investigation reveals her husband was then a member of the United States Marine Corps, operating under a different name. The stakes are high as her client faces up to a life sentence for murder, and she gets the help of Morgan Freeman. The husband's played by Jim Caviezel, pre-Passion of the Christ. Directed by Carl Franklin, who's made a couple pretty good movies. Some of the most notable ones, including, One False Move, Devil in a Blue Dress. So he's been a decent director before, but needless to say, this is not one of his better movies. In fact, it's a movie that really does not make a whole lot of sense whatsoever. I mean, it's a movie that really is struggling to find something to work with here, and these are really great actors all around here. I mean, Morgan Freeman's great. Jim Caviezel can be a good actor at times. I feel really bad for Ashley Judd because it seemed like around this time, nobody really knew what to do with her. I mean, she's a great actress overall, but like the movies they were putting her in, it's like they had no idea what fits her the best. Like, what kind of a genre should you put her in? Do you put her in these thrillers? Do you put her in romantic comedies? Do you put her in romantic dramas? Like, where do you put a woman like her with her range of acting? And like I said, she's been a terrific actress before, but this was around that time when I feel like they were really struggling to find something for her to do, like something to really show off her acting abilities. And it's a film that's just really, really dull and boring. It's a film you can pretty much see what's going to happen at the end. It's a very predictable storyline, a very predictable plot. Like, you can tell what the twists and turns are going to be, and like I said, it's a film that really these actors deserve a whole lot better than what they're given here, and there's just nothing there. Like, the connection between this guy who supposedly was a killer in 14 years prior to this makes no sense whatsoever. Like, they don't even try to explain why why they connected him to this, and it's just like, nothing about this movie makes any sense whatsoever. And I guess because Kiss the Girls was somewhat of a success at the box office, they said, hey, we can get Ashley Judd and Morgan Freeman together and have them being the sole point of this. But yeah, I got nothing else for you on this one here. This was a dull movie. So, yeah, that's High Crimes for you. So, let's go ahead and turn this around a bit with a couple of good movies. Let's start off with the first movie we have here, and that is Ryan Reynolds in his breakout film role in National Lampoon's Van Wilder.
Lampoon. We've got a jumper! Feeling stressed? Meet a guy who can make college a little more relaxing. Who, me? He's not a professor, but he'll teach you math, phys ed, hygiene, and anatomy. But when he's kicked out,
Van Wilder's tenure here is over.
the student body will fight to keep him. National Lampoon's Van Wilder.
Surely you have a career in mind.
Not me. Rated R.
Another one of those movies that looks stupid on paper, should not work whatsoever, and yet it's one of those movies that I love going back to every once in a while. Of course, you have Ryan Reynolds as the title character, and it follows the misadventures of its lead character, who's a 7th-year senior who's made it his life goals to help undergrads at Coolidge College succeed in the future. And after an article was written about his legacy, Van Wilder's party lifestyle was brought to light. This brings the attention to Wilde's father, who's coincidentally played by Tim Matheson, who was, of course, in Animal House, and cuts him out of his tuition. And now he's become stuck in the middle of a love triangle between Gwen and his mean-spirited her mean-spirited boyfriend, Richard, who are all struggling to graduate. He tries various schemes to earn enough money to pay his tuition and graduate with help from Gwen and the rest of the student body, except a couple of sinister enemies who attempt to sabotage his own efforts. So, yeah, it's basically just a typical college movie, but a college movie that actually is legitimately funny. I mean, it's not quite Animal House, but it's more on the same level of something like a How High. I mean, I talked about how much I love that movie, and this movie definitely is one of those ones that I love watching all the time. I think this is very funny stuff. You do buy the connection between Ryan Reynolds and Tara Reid in this movie. Cal Penn, who plays Taj in this, is very funny. There's a lot of really good moments in here, really a lot of silly, fun moments. It's a movie that clearly knows what kind of a movie it is. I mean, it's literally a knockoff of these classic 80s college movies. I mean, it's literally got Booger from Revenge of the Nerds, and also the principal from The Breakfast Club is in here again, Paul Gleason, who was in Not Another Teen Movie, which is another movie that's making fun of 80s college films. And, you know, Chris Owens, you know, the Shermanator is in this movie as well. You've got Sophia Bush, pre-One Tree Hill. Simon Helberg from The Big Bang Theory is in this movie. You know, Edie McClurg from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Aaron Paul is in this as well. For some reason, Dr. Joyce Brothers is in here. Tom Everett Scott from That Thing You Do. Lamar Odom has a cameo in here. I mean, when you really look at this movie and you see what they're trying to accomplish here, this did a lot better job of making me laugh harder than most college movies try to do. Like, these are the type of movies that I miss so much, and it's so good that you can even accept the fact that it has a poop joke that is not that creative whatsoever, but the way it's presented, I mean, it's literally using the same sound effects from Dumb and Dumber, which is one of the greatest poop moments of all time, and it's using those same sound effects, and the way it's presented here, every time it happens in this movie towards the end, I'm laughing my ass off. It's that friggin' funny. Like, it's so well done, and I think it helps because of the actor who plays the bad guy in the movie, Daniel Cosgrove, who plays Richard. Like, his facial reactions are just so hilarious on their own. It's just like I can't help it, man. It's just one of those movies that really is, it's stupid, it knows it's stupid, but it's so hilarious at the same time. And like I said, it launched Ryan Reynolds into the movie star that he would eventually become, before he eventually became the movie star that we know him as today. I mean, this was still like 14 years before Deadpool really put him over the map. But this was the movie that put him into the Hollywood stratosphere and say, hey, he's here, and he'll eventually become the star that we know he'll become within the next couple of years. And I love it, man. I love this movie so much. It's a stupid movie, but it's a good, fun, stupid movie. It's one I always go back to. It's a freaking hilarious movie. I love it. I love it. I can't recommend this movie enough. Like, if you're looking for a good old-fashioned college comedy on the same level as something like an Animal House or Porky's, like, don't expect a classic by any means, but expect a movie that is absolutely really, really funny when it knows exactly what it's trying to accomplish here. And it's really, really funny stuff. Can't recommend this one enough. Van Wilder. So with that said, let's move on to the last movie we have here. A movie that, one of those ones that got kind of screwed over by the events of September 11th, and that is Barry Sonnenfeld's latest film, Big Trouble. So yeah, like a couple of other movies we've talked about, this is a film that definitely got screwed over by the events of September 11th. In fact, this thing was literally supposed to come out 10 days before September 11th. It had this strong advertising push. However, the attacks that year made the film's comedic smuggling of a nuclear device onto an airplane unpalatable, and so the film got pushed back. The campaign was toned down completely, almost to the point of abandonment. In fact, the one trailer that you see out here, like, I don't even know if that's actually from the trailer for the original release or the one afterwards, because they do mention that the guy, that Stanley Tucci, needs a missile, and it's never brought up again. But the story of Big Trouble is that you have, this is based off of a book by Dave Barry, who, of course, became the inspiration for Dave's World, the TV series from the 90s, where you follow a diverse group of people through a series of extremely strange and humorous situations against the backdrop of Miami. And this has a pretty stacked cast to it. I mean, Tim Allen, Rene Russo, Stanley Tucci, Ben Foster, Zooey Deschanel, Tom Sizemore and Johnny Knoxville, Dennis Farina, Janine Garofalo, Patrick Warburton, Heavy D, Omar Epps, Jason Lee, Sofia Vergara, DJ Qualls, Andy Richter. I mean, stacked cast throughout this movie, man. And it's Barry Sonnenfeld. And, you know, the movie was not the biggest hit, I think, because they really didn't know how to market the movie after the events of September 11th. But if you watch the movie's actually really funny. It's very unique, and it fits into the style of comedy that you would expect from a guy like Barry Sonnenfeld. I mean, it's a film that is very, very funny and very much all over the place. I mean, it's a movie that's really, really silly. It's really, really fun. You know, it's funny. Tim Allen and Patrick Warburton made the much better movie with them in it, besides other than Joe Somebody, which was a complete disaster. But this is what Joe Somebody really should have been like. But It's a slick, funny movie, man. It's one that I don't think gets the proper respect it deserves, mostly because I think a lot of people were kind of turned off on it by the later marketing for it that kind of ruined the film's ebb and flow. But once you actually see the film and see what they're trying to say here, like, it's really, really clever, funny stuff. It's a very stupid, very fun movie with a lot of good dark humor to it. I mean, it's a very ridiculously fun movie. It's a film where you really there are a lot of moments in here that will make you laugh pretty hard, and it's definitely one of the more underrated Barry Sonnenfeld films. It's one of those films that kind of came and went, like I said, because of what happened, but it certainly was a nice change of pace from something like Wild Wild West. I mean, it was like him getting back to his old ways again with something like a Get Shorty, mixed in with a little bit of For Love and Money, which is kind of a criminally underrated film of his from back in the mid-90s, but I don't know, I really liked it a lot. I know it didn't get the proper respect it deserved back then, but I'm glad to see it has gained somewhat of a following over the years. I like it. I think it's very funny and very clever. Definitely check it out. I highly recommend checking it out. A very underrated film. Big Trouble. Seek it out if you can. So Ben Affleck plays a successful young Wall Street lawyer who accidentally crashes his car into a vehicle driven by a middle-aged, recovering alcoholic insurance salesman played by Samuel L. Jackson. After the lawyer leaves the scene of the accident, basically telling Samuel L. Jackson, better luck next time, the two men try to get back at each other, engaging in a variety of immoral and illegal actions that end up having a major impact on each man's life. Think of this as one of those Will Ferrell comedies he made back in the mid-2000s, except it's much more serious, and there's a really good chance that one or both of these guys will easily get killed in this situation, because, man, this is one of the best thrillers that nobody probably really knows about. This is directed by Roger Mitchell, the same guy who did Notting Hill, which was a far different movie than Changing Lanes. That's a romantic comedy, but I like that it shows his range as a director. It's not just him doing one specific genre. He can do multiple genres, and this film really does keep you on the edge of your seat because you see the consequences of these particular actions that happens in this movie with Ben Affleck and Samuel L. Jackson, and how they basically try to screw each other over, only realizing that they're both kind of screwed in their own ways. And you got a phenomenal cast in this as well, not just the two of them, but also Toni Collette, Sidney Pollack, William Hurt, Amanda Peet. I mean, it's a movie that you are literally on the edge of your seat because you have no idea how this is going to end, how this is going to end up becoming for both of them, because the film does a very good job of keeping the tension high, because you really don't know what's going to happen when it's all said and done, which kind of affects the film's ending a little bit. I thought the ending was a little bit anticlimactic. In fact, that was one of the major complaints that a lot of people had with the movie. Everyone thought the movie was great, except they thought that the ending was a little bit too convoluted and a little bit too cliched. But yeah, it's definitely the weakest part of the movie, which is a shame, but then again, it doesn't hurt the overall ebb and flow of the movie. Like, it's not bad, it's not the worst thing ever, but it's definitely not as good as what they were setting up beforehand. They were setting up something really, really interesting, and you really didn't know what was going to happen at the end, and then they just kind of back off on it a little bit here. It's not the best ending that they could have had for this, honestly. But it shouldn't really take away from the overall enjoyment of the movie. I do like watching Ben Affleck and Samuel L. Jackson working off each other, and like all the different ways they screw each other over, and you really do feel for both sides of their arguments. Like, there's no real bad guys here. It's just a big misunderstanding that they have, and you feel when somebody faces the consequences of their actions, and it's very well done stuff. It's a very solid film. If the ending had been a little bit better, this probably would have been one of the best movies of the year. In fact, in some ways, many people consider it kind of what Crash did 3 years later, except it's just centering on two different people here. And I could definitely see the differences between Changing Lanes and Crash in this situation. But if I had to pick the two, I'd probably say this is the better film, even though I think Crash is a very good film. I'm one of those few people that, everybody was kind of upset that Crash won Best Picture that year, but I like that movie enough. But I thought it kind of got screwed over Brokeback Mountain, though. I will agree with that. Like, Brokeback Mountain did get kind of screwed by Crash winning Best Picture. I mean, I like the movie, but I don't think it was Best Picture worthy. I mean, But that's for another day and time. But Changing Lanes, really good movie. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. It's definitely worth the watch. So speaking of movies that you really do not see coming, see if you can look at what this next movie I'm going to talk about here, The Sweetest Thing. Now, it looks like something that you've seen over and over again, but let me just show you the trailer, and I'll show you what I'm talking about.
Given up on love
I'm going home.
until love found her.
Hi.
Hi.
Wow. Why did you call him at the hotel? He checked out already.
On April 12th,
Let's go find him.
if you love There's Something About Mary
Drop the thingy. Get it.
and My Best Friend's Wedding,
You are so sticky.
you'll love Cameron Diaz
Whatever happened to my cool, confident roommate?
in The Sweetest Thing. Rated R. April 12th.
So, okay, on paper, that trailer kind of looks like your typical romantic comedy, but if you actually watch the movie, you realize that this is not that type of romantic comedy. And we'll talk about that in just a second here, but the plot of this movie is that you have Cameron Diaz as this woman who spends years avoiding men, suddenly meets her perfect match while hanging with her best friends, and when she finds out that he's left town, she and her best friend, played by Christina Applegate, set out on a trip to find him. And the guy is played by Thomas Jane. Their third best friend is played by Selma Blair. You also have Jason Bateman. Parker Posey's in here as well. This is one of those movies where it doesn't sell you on what the movie actually is. It looks like a generic romantic comedy, but no, it's a romantic comedy that's trying to be for the same target audience as something like American Pie or something like The Hangover. Like, it's trying to sell itself as this raunchy comedy, and let's just say their attempts at trying to sell it as a raunchy comedy are not very, very good. I mean, this is a movie that I was kind of looking forward to when it came out. I never got around to seeing it until almost 10 years later, and when I finally saw it, I was just like, what the hell was that? I mean, like Cameron Diaz, Christina Applegate, Selma Blair, Thomas Jane, Jason Bateman, Parker Posey, all terrific actors, all terrific comedic actors. I've seen them in a lot of good stuff where they're very, very funny, but this is a movie that I really don't know what the hell the point of it was trying to be. Like, what were they trying to do here? It can't decide on if it wants to be a straightforward romantic comedy or a raunchy comedy on the same level as American Pie. There are scenes in this movie that are just like really, really bizarre. Like, there's one scene in particular where the three best friends, Diaz, Applegate, and Blair, they're at this restaurant, and they start singing about a song called "You're Too Big to Fit in Here." It's called the Penis Song, and the entire restaurant starts singing the song. And it's just like, I don't get it. Like, if you set the tone a little bit earlier, maybe I would have figured out what you were trying to do. But the trailers for this even don't know what the hell they're trying to sell you on. Like, it doesn't give you much of the raunchy aspects except for a couple little scenes here and there, like the scene in the car, and then there's a scene where they're throwing some disgusting food out the window, and you think maybe someone pooped inside of it or something like that, and then it's the car and all that. But like, this movie never figures out what the hell it wants to be, and it really stumbles right from the beginning all the way down to the very end of the movie. I mean, there's a part in the movie where Selma Blair, something happens where she gets into this weird situation with her boyfriend, where something gets stuck on the boyfriend, and I can't remember if it was the boyfriend or something, like, basically it's a sexual situation where a boyfriend and the emergency crew has to be called in, and it's a really odd scene because it just comes out of nowhere. It doesn't serve any purpose to the storyline. It just feels like it's there to just be there for the sake of being raunchy. It really does feel like a film that has no idea who it's supposed to be for. Is it supposed to be for the guys? Is it supposed to be for the girls? Is it supposed to be... It's supposed to be one of those movies it really doesn't know which direction it wants to go. And I think because they don't have a tone for this, it ruins the ebb and flow of the movie in a lot of different ways. And even with the people they have involved here, there's a lot of talented people in this. They can't save this movie in particular from really going anywhere. And this writer is not a bad writer. Nancy Pimentel's the writer of this. And she actually based this off of her relationship with Kate Walsh, who we know from Grey's Anatomy. And she's written a lot of stuff. Like, she wrote episodes of South Park. She wrote episodes of Shameless. She wrote The Mick. She was one of the people on Win Ben Stein's Money. She even said that this movie has been described as kind of the forefront of stuff like Bridesmaids and Girls Trip, which... Bridesmaids and Girls Trips were much better movies in particular because they at least knew what they were trying to do and who they were targeting. But this is a movie that just feels like it's all over the place, and it doesn't know who it wants to be appealed to more. Does it want to appeal to the women watching this, or the guys? Like, it can't really decide on which one it tries to do, and it tries to mesh them together, and it just doesn't work. It's no wonder why they keep talking about in the trailer, if you love There's Something About Mary and My Best Friend's Wedding, then you're going to love this. It's just like two different movies, two different tones, and yeah. This is what happens when you try to put them together. And The Sweetest Thing is anything but sweet. It's not anything, pretty much. It's just a dull movie with not a lot of laughs, a waste of really good talent, and an idea that they have no idea who they're trying to appeal this to, and it just stings in the long run when it's all said and done. So, yeah. So that's The Sweetest Thing. So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, which is, last film actually, Bill Paxton and Matthew McConaughey in a film directed by Bill Paxton, Frailty. In Frailty, you have Matthew McConaughey and Bill Paxton as two brothers who have a very strange relationship between them and their father, played by Powers Booth, who believes that he has been commanded by God to kill demons disguised as people. And what you get is a very interesting psychological horror thriller, and it shows that Bill Paxton has a lot of potential as a director. I think this is I don't know if this is the only thing he's ever directed. Let me see. I'm kind of curious now. So let me see for a second here. Yeah, I think this is the only thing he's ever directed, because I don't see any other movies besides this one. But, yeah, it's a very intense movie. It reminds me a lot of, like, Sterling Echoes or Arlington Road from a couple years prior. It's one of those little underrated gems that not a lot of people really knew about. And actually, for Lionsgate, they actually put the most money into this an in-house project, because this was like an $11 million movie. Remember, Lionsgate started off as a very small independent company before it eventually became the Lionsgate that we know of today, like the company that gave us Saw and The Hunger Games, John Wick, Expendables, yada yada yada. But much different time compared to now. But it's a really good movie. It's a very creepy film. It's very tension-filled. It's very odd and very weird. It features two really solid performances from Bill Paxton and Matthew McConaughey. Powers Booth's also very good in the film as well. And it does keep you on the edge of your seat. It's a very intense thriller, and one that, sadly, I don't think gets the proper respect it deserves. It's a really good film, and like I said, it shows what Bill Paxton can do as a director overall. It's a really good movie. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out, because it is definitely worth it. Frailty, highly recommended.
Tyrant who enslaved a nation. Tomorrow my victory is complete. A warrior who would become their only hope.
I have seen the prophecy.
So the Scorpion King takes place 5,000 years before the events of The Mummy and The Mummy Returns, and reveals the origins of Matthias, the Scorpion King, and his rise to power as the legendary hero. And the name is a reference to an historical king of the proto-dynastic period of Egypt, King Scorpion. And directed by Chuck Russell, who did The Mask. He did the 80s version of The Blob, so he's made some good movies. And the Mummy movies are fun films. They're fun. The first two are at least fun for what they are. This one in particular is, I'd say it's about as fun as the other ones. I mean, it delivers what it promises. You get more of Dwayne Johnson as the Scorpion King, and it knows exactly what its target audience is. It's an action-packed adventure, but it knows it can be really silly and over the top and make it usually work. That's what made the first two Mummy movies work as well as they did, especially The Mummy Returns, which has some of the most laughably bad CGI ever. It's almost on the level of a so bad it's good type of movie. And this one definitely has a lot of that, and I think it does it probably the best out of all three films of the original Mummy movies, not including the last one we'll get to in 2008. But This one definitely delivers a lot of what it promises. I think Dwayne Johnson definitely shows his screen presence that he would later come to have in the years to come. I mean, this was his first major leading film role, even though he was just in The Mummy Returns, and that was kind of the film that introduced everybody to him, if you weren't watching the WWE at the time. Or even the WWF, what it was called, because, of course, you know the story about the WWF. They had to change the name because World Wildlife Federation threatened to sue them if they didn't, so World Wrestling Federation became World Wrestling Entertainment. I think this was just around the time before they eventually decided to change the name on that. So that's always kind of fun, a fun fact to bring up here. But you got a decent cast here. Kelly Hu, Grant Heslov, of course, one of George Clooney's main producers on his movies. Michael Clark Duncan is in the movie as well. It definitely has that feel that it's coming from the same universe as the Mummy movies are. And maybe not as silly as over the top as those movies, but goofy enough in its own way where it makes it and warrants itself for a very entertaining film, at least in this first film, because of course we had to keep making prequels and sequels to this because, you know, we really need prequels of a prequel. And those movies that came out on DVD afterwards are not really all that good, and I've seen a couple of them and I've immediately regretted doing so, but The Scorpion King is at least fun. It does show what Dwayne Johnson's star power would eventually become down the road. And it shows that he's got a lot of charisma and a lot of potential as an actor, as like I said, we'll see down the road. And it fits in the same mold as the other two Mummy movies. They're fun movies. They're not meant to be taken seriously whatsoever. They're just there to be good, fun times when it matters the most. And I think The Scorpion King does just as good enough a job as you can ask for so much. And probably the last thing Chuck Russell ever did as a director that I actually really liked, too, So that is The Scorpion King. So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, Sandra Bullock starring in the psychological thriller Murder by Numbers.
Let's arrange the world. We will. With every clue,
Pretty good fight. Good for you.
the evidence is leading her
Where were you last Thursday night?
I was with a study group.
closer to a killer
You sure they didn't suspect anything?
and further from the truth.
He doesn't fit the profile.
Yeah, the profile doesn't fit the profile.
They'll have their work cut out for me.
Murder by Numbers, rated R, starts April 19th.
Hi, Ryan Gosling. It's one of Ryan Gosling's earliest film roles, him and Ben Chaplin. And Ryan Gosling in this movie plays a Californian high school's coolest kid, who secretly teams up with another rich kid, played by Ben Chaplin, in class, brilliant nerd Justin Bonaparte Pendleton. I mean, clearly I can't see why he's getting beat up all the time, but whose erudition, especially in forensic matters, allows them to plan elaborately perfect murders just for the kick, for which they set up Richard's marijuana supplier, their school janitor Ray Feathers, as a psychotic serial killer. The case is assigned to detectives, including Casey Mayweather, played by Sandra Bullock, who carries a Sequoia-sized chip on the shoulder from her previous life, and her brilliant new partner, who just transferred from the Vice Squad. They can work together as well, and even fit romantically, but fall out over different professional attitudes towards the investigation. When the captain and her understandably vindictive, abusive ex soon ban her from what she disobeys instructions at hand to her, well, the plotting boys both dig classmate Lisa Mills. Their unnatural bond comes under stress. Will it break along the hard-pressed police to bring him down? I'm reading this off Wikipedia. This not Wikipedia, IMDb. Sometimes these synopses make no sense whatsoever. I think the people that write this down clearly do not have an idea of how to properly put paragraphs together, because this is the second time in the last couple of weeks what I've looked on here, and some of the things they put in here make no sense whatsoever on the way that they're putting it together here. I get what they're trying to say, but it's the way that they're saying it is just all over the place. But yeah, Murder by Numbers, and should be very interesting. Sandra Bullock doesn't usually take a lot of bad movies, but this is one of those times. And it's got a good director behind it, too. Babette Schroeder, who did Reversal of Fortune, and he also did some other notable films, Sleeping with a Single White Female, Barfly, Reversal of Fortune, Desperate Measures, Kiss of Death. Films that were somewhat successes in their own right, but most of them were not very good. And this is one of those ones that just feels like a really bad procedural movie mixed in with a mix of trying to be somewhat of a dark psychotic comedy too, because there's moments in here where it's just like, why is this even in here? There's a whole sequence where where Sandra Bullock's character is attacked by an angry baboon, and the way it's presented, I don't know if they thought this was going to be like a comedy or something, because that looks way too comedic to be in a movie like this. I mean, that just seems like a scene that comes out of nowhere, and there's nothing about this story that's really all that interesting when you really look at it. I mean, it's obvious who the bad guy, who the villains are, who the killers are, and nothing about this makes any sense whatsoever. It's a dull, boring movie that you can easily see coming from a mile away. You can figure out who's working for who, why they want Sandra Bullock off the case so much, and it's just, there's no real meat to the story. There's nothing about it here that makes this worth watching in the end, even after the first time. And Sandra Bullock can do so much better than this, and it just feels like they didn't give her much to do here. Just be the main character in this story that doesn't really have much of an intrigue to it. But, hey, you also get to work with this young guy named Ryan Gosling. We think he's going to go places. And, I don't know. To me, it didn't work. It's a movie that left me kind of bored and dull when it was all said and done. It was just like, there was nothing really there. And at 2 hours long, it runs way too long. It's dragging to something that you obviously know what's going to happen. And it just didn't really fly with me when it was all said and done. It's not a very good movie. It's a really lackluster film that has a lot of talented people being wasted on something that really needed another rewrite to really make something special out of it. But other than that, though, it's just another generic psychological thriller. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our last movie here. The biggest surprise success of the entire weekend, even though it was not the #1 movie, what would follow afterwards makes this very interesting. So let's take a look at My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Did you want to see some brochures?
You're cordially invited to America's finest new comedy.
You heard her. I'll kill you and make it look like an accident.
Hey, Ian, we're gonna kill you.
2 thumbs up. Heartfelt and hilarious.
It's a mosquito bite. It's a zit.
One party you shouldn't miss.
She's a rabbit.
4 stars.
Oh!
My Big Fat Greek Wedding. Rated PG. Now playing.
So yeah, My Big Fat Greek Wedding is certainly a very interesting success story. It first premiered at the American Film Market in February 2002. It was picked up by IFC Films, and was released in theaters on this particular weekend, April 19th. Didn't do like gangbuster business. I mean, it still brought in almost over $500,000 in only 108 theaters, which is not that bad of a showing for that. But then all of a sudden, the film started to grow a little bit of a following to it. And it took a while, too, because for months, nobody really knew what was going on, because this thing barely cracked the top 10. And it wasn't until about 3 weeks later when it actually made its first $1 million. And then all of a sudden, like around July, late July, early August, if you looked at the box office, you start to notice this little film called My Big Fat Greek Wedding slowly but surely climbing the top of the charts. I mean, this is one of those unusual successes where its success didn't come right from the get-go. It waited several months before it finally got the eventual success that it would eventually become. Like in late July, it started making in like $2 million a week and $3 million a weekend. You know, finally around Labor Day weekend, it finally got this massive $14 million opening, and it brought its like total up to. It made over $100 million without ever cracking the top 10. I mean, the top spot of the weekend, and it stayed #1 it stayed in the top 10 for much of the year. Like, we don't usually see movies do this anymore. Like, you know, going back to the days of like E.T. and Home Alone, like, you know, that used to be common. But like in 2002, a movie to do this type of a success is very, very hard to do, and it stuck around for a long time. It was in theaters for an entire year, and it's literally its last weekend brought in $27 in one theater, which isn't really all that spectacular when you think about it. But but it ended on a $241 million domestic run, which is awe-inspiring to think about, and made over $368 million. This little movie that really came out of nowhere to do the money that it did and have this longevity that it did. It's pretty amazing to think about, and it's so much so that they literally did a TV series on CBS, which premiered and was gone by the time the movie was finally moving out of theaters. Like, this thing lasted only a few episodes and was canceled the same week the movie finally fell out of theaters. Like, this thing died pretty quickly. I mean, that's how long it took them to put that show together, and that's how successful the movie was. So you have a story here where you have Nia Vardalos, who is a young Greek-American woman who falls in love with a non-Greek, played by John Corbett, and struggles to get her family to accept her while she comes to terms with her heritage and cultural identity. And this is directed by Joel Zwick, who would later go on to direct stuff like Fat Albert. And you know, this is a movie that, on paper, doesn't really look anything too significant. Doesn't look like anything that's really, you know, all that special or anything. But it, in a way, it kind of feels like a little bit of a television sitcom. Like, this is the type of show that would probably be seen on like is maybe on CBS, or even like a Wonder Years type of show on ABC. Like, if ABC really wanted to tap into that market. But the great thing about it is that it had a lot of charm to it. I mean, Nia Vardalos shows that she's got a lot of chops as a writer overall. So, like, writer and an actress, like, she shows what she can do with this particular movie here, that she does have range to her, and she actually does have a lot there where she can actually make this material work. I mean, she created this off of a 45-minute monologue workshop when she was working at HBO, and she was doing this on stage in a one-woman show on Broadway, off-Broadway, I think it was, but yeah, it was actually, and Tom Hanks, who was one of the producers on this, saw this and thought, this would be a good idea to make a movie out of it, and sure enough, here we go, we have it right here, and it also works because you have such a great cast to work off each other. I mean, Nia Vardalos and John Corbett, they work off each other very well, and you also have Lainey Kazan, Michael Constantine, Andrea Martin, Luis Mandalore, Joey Fatone, Gia Carides, Ian Gomez, Jane Eastwood. I mean, there's a lot of very talented people in this movie, and a movie that could be so cheesy and so, you know, not that interesting whatsoever, it turns out to be a delightfully fun little comedy that knows exactly who it's trying to appeal to, but knows it can appeal to the people who kind of are against the ideas of against the typical type of a movie that this would sell to. I mean, people that, you know, generic romantic comedy, but there actually is a lot of charm to it because you do like the characters, you do like the comedy. Like, it's amazing what they're able to do with Windex in this movie. Like, Windex in this thing is probably one of the biggest laughs of the entire movie. The different ways they try to use it on different things. It's just like, it's amazing that this movie did as well as it did, and actually finds a lot of charm to it that actually makes me say, you know, I'm glad I saw this, because this is actually a delightful little comedy here, and it's a really good film. It's a solidly made film that, of course, was destroyed because they tried to franchise it. I'm not just talking about the TV series, I'm talking about the fact that they made sequels that came out not too long ago. We had a second one in 2016, and a third one in 2023, which were definitely not good movies. In fact, they were basically just retreads of this particular film, and I think they were only made because Nia Vardalos doesn't have anything really to do after it's because anything that she didn't really have a whole lot of success after this movie came out. I mean, like, she tried to do some other things, like there was Connie and Carla she also wrote, which was not that great of a movie. She did My Life in Ruins, which was not a great movie. She co-wrote the script for Larry Crown, which was such a disappointment. I think the only thing I ever saw her in that I actually really liked was For a Good Time Call, which is a criminally underrated movie which features Ari Grainer and also Seth Rogen's girlfriend, as I believe his wife at the time, Lauren Miller. Well, they're still together. Lauren Miller. Great movie that's criminally underrated. If you have not seen For a Good Time Call, seek that one out because it is definitely worth the watch. But, yeah, other than that, though, there really is not a whole lot she's done since then. I mean, My Big Fat Greek Wedding was that literal one-hit wonder for her, and she was just, like, struggling to find anything else to really get her name out there. And it's a shame because she does have comedic presence to her. She does have the chops to make it work. But with those sequels, I just feel like she was kind of forced to do it because she literally had nothing else to go with, and nobody was really giving her the opportunity to really do anything with it. And, like, I don't know, like, it just, like, I think her career really has unfortunately not lived up to the promise that this movie had intended for her. But at least the first movie was still a very solid film, and avoid the fact that the franchise that spawned a franchise which puts this up there with The Hangover and Trolls and Fantastic Beasts as some of the most pointless franchises of all time. But the first movie is a delightfully charming movie, and it still holds up even after all these years. Over 20 years later, it still holds up very well. It's still very funny. It's still very creative. It's a delightful little romantic comedy. I'm glad I got to see it when I did. And I'm glad I got to see what everyone was talking about. It is a very fun movie. It's a little too formulaic, but it works perfectly well for what it is, and I really like it for just that. So, the first, I would say I recommend the first My Big Fat Greek Wedding by a long shot. Everything else, yeah, you could just kind of skip all those other ones. But what's the first one, though?
He is an unstoppable killing machine.
What the hell is going on?
Jason Voorhees!
Guys, it's okay. He just wanted his machete back. Uh-oh.
He's been modified. Oh, you think? You guys might want to run.
Jason X.
I don't think he's out there.
Why don't you stick your head out and have a peek?
Rated R, coming soon.
Now, I don't know if this is actually true or not, but I've heard some rumors that Jason X was basically called Jason X because New Line didn't want them to use the Friday the 13th title on there anymore, because I guess they thought the Friday the 13th name wasn't that much of a brand recognition anymore. I mean, I don't know if this is actually true or not. Don't quote me on that, but I've heard that from some sources that was why this wasn't just called Friday the 13th. But Jason X, Jason is chronologically frozen for over 400 years and awakes in 2455. And he's found by a group of students who he subsequently stalks and kills one by one. But we can't just do this in Crystal Lake anymore. No. We got to go all the way up to space. If the Leprechaun could do it, so could Jason X. But yeah, this is a very fun movie, and it's fun for all the reasons that you think it is. That trailer is the perfect sum up of what makes this movie so special. It's because they are completely in on the joke. Even Kane Hodder, who's been through the brunt of the last couple of Friday the 13th movies, which were not that great, but he's a hell of a Jason Voorhees. He was very hesitant to come onto this movie, basically saying on the Howard Stern show not too long after the movie came out that he was a little hesitant to be around about this one because of the plot for the first time. He heard the story too, but he's a trooper, man. He came in and he knew exactly, everybody else knew exactly what kind of a movie this was, and really, that's part of the charm of this movie. That trailer pretty much shows you everything that makes this movie so special. It's a movie that knows it's completely stupid, it's completely ridiculous, it's playing it up for the laughs, and it definitely shows in a lot of the scenes in this movie. I mean, this is a film that knows. This is basically the opposite of what Jason Goes to Hell was, the last Friday the 13th movie, which was basically too super serious and being this dark, grisly storyline. It's supposed to be like, no, there's no more laughs in this. Like we're supposed to go seriously. Jason's gonna go out like this. It's just like, and like, no, not this time around. This is the complete opposite of that. And boy, thank God for that, because this movie is a blast. I mean, this movie is so over the top and so cheesy. The way Jason kills people, like there's a great moment where he comes back out of the crystallization after being frozen for so long, gets up, kills one of the scientists. No, he could just kill her like he usually does with his machete, but no. We have to make this extremely over the top and ridiculous. So we're gonna put her in this vat of it's like frozen water. It's like a frozen water or something like that. I can't remember what it was off the top of my head. It's not frozen water. It's liquid nitrogen. I knew that's what it was. I just couldn't figure it out off the top of my head. But no, he puts her head in this thing of liquid nitrogen, takes it out of there like he's waterboarding her, making sure it's just like, are you dead? Good. And then slams her head on the counter. It's just like, it's awesome, man. Like, this is a movie not only is this movie what Jason Goes to Hell kind of was trying to be, this is kind of the movie that Supernova was trying to be, that god-awful movie with Angela Bassett in it that had no idea which direction it wanted to go. This movie is what Supernova should have been, and this is a movie that just knows exactly what kind of a movie it is. It's over the top, it's ridiculous, it makes no sense whatsoever, and you know what? God bless it, man. It's just absolutely amazing. Like, this thing did not become the big success that it was back then. It did underperform at the box office, and I think mostly because there was just too much competition out there. And I don't know. I don't think a lot of the young kids out there were really interested in seeing another Friday the 13th movie, even though they had no idea who Jason Voorhees was. I mean, this was almost 10 years since the last movie, but then he comes back again the next year with Freddy vs. Jason, which we'll get to that one when we get to 2003. But I mean, this movie knows exactly what it is. It makes fun of the tropes. It goes over the top when it needs to. It's not afraid to be funny. It's not afraid to be completely ridiculous and stupid. And it just goes all in for it. And you know what? It works for that way. It's just something that it just works so well. It's a very hilarious, over-the-top movie. I love it, man. I love this one. Even though I'm not a big fan of these, I'm not the biggest Friday the 13th fan. This is one of those ones that in the series, I'll watch it all the time for just how ridiculous and stupid it gets, because it gets ridiculous and stupid in all the best positive ways. It's a so bad it's good movie. I love it, man. Jason X. If you check it out and go into it knowing it's going to be a ridiculous, over the top movie, I think you can have a great time with it, because I know I certainly did. So that's Jason X. So let's go ahead and get to the intentional comedy of the weekend that was supposed to be very funny and very, maybe even over the top, but not really. I mean, you could put Angelina Jolie in it if you want to, but Life or Something Like It ain't it.
To plan
Great man. Great friend. Thank you.
until a prediction.
Tomorrow is going to hail, and next Thursday you're going to die. I'm sorry.
Started to come true.
I'm trying to be something that I'm not.
Maybe if you change the path you're currently on, the outcome is going to be different.
Now they will have one chance to change her destiny. Life or Something Like It. Rated PG-13. Tomorrow, only in theaters.
Look, Angelina Jolie can have that blonde wig all she wants to. She can look sexy as much as she wants to. She's in a terrible movie, and this literally is a terrible movie. She stars as a news reporter who interviews this psychic homeless man played by, of all people, Monk from Monk, and also Antonio Scapacci from Wings. Tony Shalhoub, whose name is Prophet Jack, for a fluff piece about a football game score. Instead, he tells her that life has no meaning and will end in just a few days. Her life has no meaning and will end in just a few days. This sparks her to action to change the pattern of her life. So she's going to listen to this crazy guy and think that she's only got 7 days left to live. And, yeah, this is really stupid. But you see the trailer there that she gets the idea that maybe this guy's onto something because he predicted that it was going to hail before then. And it hails, and it's just like, so... I mean, there's a good idea to it here, you know, but here's the thing. We need to see Angelina Jolie be more smug and be more of an asshole to make her believe that she's ready to turn her life around, because in this movie, she's really not saying all that much. I mean, she really isn't seen much as a jerk for much of the movie. There's things that she does that are kind of like, I could see where they're coming from, but there's never a point in here where she acts like a complete asshole. So you don't really get behind her belief that she has to believe what this guy is saying, even though he's been right on 2 occasions about different things. He also predicted an earthquake that actually happens at a specific time. So I guess that's the way of figuring out that this is something true. And I guess the idea of her finding a meaning in her life is dating Edward Burns, because he's the love interest in here. And yeah, it's that type of a movie. Like, you would have a good idea here if you had something to work with here, but nope, it's just a generic-ass romantic comedy, and, like, it literally is the definition of a generic-ass romantic comedy, and it's just like, you know, it's really, really stupid. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You don't even buy into the chemistry between Jolie and Burns, and, this was after Angelina Jolie won the Oscar, too, and you would think she would kind of know better, but, there was just nothing here. It just really makes no sense whatsoever why this story even makes any sense. It's just because, like, hey, we've got Angelina Jolie, we've got Edward Burns, Dr. Channing is also in here as well, Tony Shalhoub, he's an up-and-coming guy. Let's get them all together and have a movie, and make a movie. What are we making it about? Make shit up as we go along. And yeah, this is not a very good movie, and it's like, again, there's a potential there with a good message there about, you know, living your life, even though, you know, it could be like Last Holiday, which I feel like this movie's taking a lot of inspiration from. You know, The Last Holiday, the old one with Alec Guinness, and even the Queen Latifah one, which I really like the Queen Latifah one. I think that story is done much better than in this movie, but here it's just like, you can tell they're trying to do that, they're trying to make a modernized version of that, but it just can't do it, because they're not really showing that Angelina Jolie is this cynical a-hole that they're trying to make her out to be. Like, if we saw that early on, maybe we could believe more into this and why she would be going into this direction, but, like, it never really gets that way. It's almost kind of also the equivalent of something like A Two of a Kind, where, you know, that movie where John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John have to get together, or else Gene Hackman God is going to destroy the world. I mean, that's literally the plot of the movie, which is a silly movie, but a kind of fun, silly movie, too. But that was playing it up. That movie kind of knew exactly what it was trying to do. This one, not so much. I mean, the world is literally not going to come to an end if Angelina Jolie and Edward Burns don't get together when it's all said and done. And, yeah, this is really stupid. This is a really, really stupid movie. It's just, you know, it has some ideas that could potentially be very interesting, but it just can't do it in the end. It's a movie that just kind of fell apart right from the get-go. They got the people there. Unfortunately, they didn't have a good script to work off, and they just said, let's just work with what we got, and what they got was not very good. So, Life or something like it. I feel like you could find anything else better out in life or something like it besides watching this movie. Sorry for the way that I ended. I was trying to obviously I was trying to tie the title back in there, but Life or something like it. Just avoid it like the plague. I'll just end it with that.